Extreme. Trigger. Warning.
The last day that I heard from Brittany was on Father's Day. She called me around 10:30 off of Jerry Pipkin's phone. And she said that she was tired of dealing with the people out there. And I told her, okay, Brittany, I'm on my way. I don't think that she heard me say that. And I didn't call her back. I should have, but I mean, maybe I didn't say I was on my way, but I always indicated something to that effect whenever she would call. And, you know, I'd always go and pick her up and take her wherever she wanted, take her to get something to eat because she was always hungry, give her some money, you know, make sure she had food to take with her, you know, whatever. I never let her do without because she chose to live in her truck or wherever due to her own way of life. So when she called me on Father's Day, I told my sister, I said, you want to go with me? And she's like, sure. So my sister and I got in my car and we went all the way to Bandera to the other side, out to Old Loop 173, which is where Brittany was staying. And I went to this one house first because I knew that person and I knew how to get to that person's house. And I asked if he had seen Brittany, and he was like, no. Well, this other guy came up, and he was like, well, I know someplace we can go and check. And I was like, okay. I can't remember the kid's name. And I asked him, and he was like, well, what do you want it to be? He was being sarcastic. That's fine. You know, whatever. I later found out what his name is, and I'm not going to put it out there because that doesn't matter. So he took me around. And so he led me over to Cindy Pipkins, which is Jerry Pipkin's wife. She took me around to some places. She took me to Michael Rablowski, I believe his name is. And so I was in the front seat, Cindy was in the front seat, and my sister was in the back seat. And Cindy did the most of the talking to him. We each got his phone number. I don't know if I gave him mine or not, but he gave me his phone number. Well, in his statement, in the paperwork that I had to pay $600 for, he said that I said she had drugs and she was going to take them and kill herself. That's a crock. I never said that. Mm-hmm. Drugs was not even brought up. So him and one of the officers, they had a conversation. Well, it's funny how each of them knew each other's first names and knew each other's voices, which tells me that they're friends. So his statement of Brittany had drugs and was gonna take these drugs and kill herself, that's a crock of shit. And I have the two other witnesses, my sister and Cindy Pipkins. No drugs, no pills, whatever, was never brought up. Just, have you seen Brittany? Actually, he had the day before. That's what the conversation was. So, he had some rings that he had gotten from Mo, and he wanted to turn them in. And the two were very friendly. They were first name basis and knew each other's names and voices. So, that tells me that they're friends. They know each other well. So then it was getting late, and I mean, we went to another lady's house. I won't say her name because I don't know how she would feel about that. But we went to another lady's house, and she said that she had slept on her back porch the night before, but she had left. Well, Brittany had told me that she had left her stuff in the wood because she didn't have her truck. Her truck had been taken to Pipe Creek. It was at a friend of mine's house. Mm-hmm. She was getting parts for her truck. It was actually my dad's truck, but I had given it to her for her to have, and she was trying to get parts to get it fixed. Mm-hmm. Because after all this stuff was done, she eventually wanted to go to the coast and live. She wanted to be free out from underneath Bandera County. And whatever, you know, everything that she was going through, she wanted to be able to move to the coast and live and build her business. So she was kind of staying wherever. So on June the 1st, let me go back a little bit. On June the 1st, I had taken Brittany to the hospital. I had taken her to the ER in Kerrville that said Peterson, because her and Mo had gotten into a fight and he broke her wrist. He threw her off a porch or something. So I took her on the 1st, and I had taken her the week before that because she had a dog bite. So when I took her on June the 1st, they looked at the dog bite because she had been there the week before with that, and they did an x-ray of her wrist. Well, she had a distal radial fracture to her left wrist. She was in a soft cast. Supposed to take her to see an orthopedic surgeon, and I couldn't do so because, believe me when I tell you, you can be too poor. She didn't qualify for any government assistance because she was too poor. After I went looking for her on Father's Day, and I didn't find her, I didn't get home till 7:30, 8 o'clock that night. I mean, I searched for her everywhere, and I never did find her. So after 72 hours, because I didn't know that you didn't have to wait 72 hours, that I could have reported her missing immediately. I've always been under the impression that because when you're an adult, you have the right to disappear. So I thought that, I had to wait the 72 hours. Well, I've since found out that's not true. I could have reported her immediately, but I didn't know. Ignorance.
Well, a lot of us don't know.
Right? So, when I called to report her after the 72 hours, the officers that came to my house, I begged them. I said, please, do not take this lightly. My daughter's not running. She's missing. She's not running from anything. She has no reason to run. Well, I don't even know what they did. I know that they knocked on a few doors. Have you seen Brittany? That's really all that I know. So when they found her body on July the 3rd, Brittany's skull was behind Cindy and Jerry Pipkin's trailer. Cindy was afraid to report it. She's the one who actually saw it because dogs were fighting over Brittany's skull and it was a commotion, and so she went out and she saw it. She was afraid to report it because she said that she had warrants. So she went to Camacho, and Camacho is the one who called and reported it. But he called my husband's phone by mistake because my husband and I put out flyers for just Brittany, but then we found out about Jordan, so then we made flyers for Brittany and Jordan. And at the top of the flyers, we had my husband's number in bold black ink. So Camacho mistakenly called my husband's phone first, and he was like, "Are you looking for Brittany McMahon?" And my husband was like, "Yeah, I'm her dad." And he goes, "Oh, I can't tell you. I have to call the law." So I want to know, how did he know that that was Brittany? Why, 3 days later, was he deported? If he didn't know something or involved in some way, why was he deported? That's a very good, valid question in my mind. So that night, they walked up on the scene. They saw the rope in the tree. They didn't do any investigation. They saw the rope in the tree. They saw a little piece of rope on the ground and her remains, and they said, "It's suicide, boys. Good job." Really? And the pictures that they took of the scene, were worthless. Worthless. I took better pictures than they did. They cleaned up the scene after they left and took down their tape. So my husband and I went out the very next day. Very next day. We took pictures of our own selves. So yeah, there's a rope in the tree. There's a little piece of rope on the ground. There's remains on the ground. So this is me. This is me standing at the tree that Brittany hung from, supposedly. You see how tall I am. The rope was up here. So here's the rope in the tree. Here's me standing at the tree. Okay? Now, these pictures, I had Ken's 5, Alicia, her camera lady, enhanced these pictures that I took. This is a stem at the base of that tree. There it is again. I'm going to show you that it's at the base of the tree. This is the stem at the base of the tree.
Okay.
See the stem? See all that hair? See all that hair? See that stem? So, this is all hair. This is hair, all at the bottom of the tree. There's none up here. None. This is where the rope was. There's no hair up here. Convince me that she committed suicide. Did she hang from her feet? That's not committing suicide. That is not committing suicide. So Bandera County closed this case in 39 days. 39 days. They didn't investigate anything. They just took the rope, little piece on the ground with the remains and said, it's suicide, boys. The autopsy. Brittany was sent to the anthropology. She was sent. So this is her remains. And it says right here, Judge Towers contacted Central Texas autopsy. He advised them that Judge Towers contacted Central Texas autopsy. He advised them that there were only skeletal remains with no teeth. There's teeth in the skull and there's a jaw. Okay? And all, let's see. There was only skeletal remains with no teeth, and all the sheriff's office was requesting was an identification on the body because cause of death was suicide. Judge Towers denied meeting either. Let's see. Oh, that's one of my husband's statements. So, and then you come down here and it says, the medical examiner advised me that if they had been provided that information, she would have performed the autopsy and not sent the remains to the Texas State University Department of Anthropology. She was not told the truth. She was not told the truth. There's teeth in the skull, and there's the jaw. She was not told the truth. On July the 8th, 2022, I attended an autopsy at Central Texas Autopsy. This is for an unrelated case. While at the anthropology, I was informed that when Judge Towers contacted Central Texas Autopsy, he advised them that there were only skeletal remains. He was told that by Johnson. Mm-hmm. Johnson is supposedly the investigator.
Okay.
But he investigates drugs. He's not a criminal investigator. He investigates drugs. Bandera County can't afford both, so they have to pick one or the other.
Oh.
Was only skeletal remains with no teeth, and all this sheriff's office was requesting was to identify the body because cause of death was suicide. I advised the medical examiner that the skull and the mandible contained teeth that could have been used to identify the remains. I also advised the medical examiner that we had copies of dental records belonging to Brittany for comparison. The medical examiner advised me that if they had been provided that information, she would have performed the autopsy and not sent the remains. So she was lied to. And he called me from his cell phone to tell me that Brittany's remains were ready to be picked up. Did I know that? And I told him, yes, I know. But you don't get to sweep her under the carpet either, Johnson. And he laughed at me because he knew that's exactly what they were doing. In their mind, she's just another druggie off the streets. Well, let me tell you what. Maybe in your mind, she's just another druggie off the street, but prove she was a druggie because her drug test from Bandera County came back negative. So just because she associates doesn't necessarily make her a druggie. It just means she associates. You have to prove she was a druggie, and you can't because her test came back negative. She wasn't. She was charged with paraphernalia. She didn't have drugs in her system, so prove she was just another druggie on the street. Not saying she's innocent. No. She's not by any means. But you don't get to call her a druggie because you can't prove that she was a druggie. By your own records, her drug test came back clean. And so, on the 18th, when Broderick went out there, because Brittany called him out, because she was pressing charges against Mo for breaking her arm. Mo was her boyfriend at the time. Brittany told Broderick that she wanted to press charges against Mo for breaking her arm and they had a fight that day. He broke her wrist. I took her to the hospital on June 1st for the distal radial fracture, and she was pressing charges on him on the 18th, and also a restraining order. Here's the paperwork that I took her to the hospital for the distal radial fracture on June the 1st. And they also checked out the dog bite that I had taken her in for the week before. And she was to see an orthopedic surgeon, but I couldn't get her into one because she didn't qualify for any government assistance of any sort because she was too poor. She had a soft cast that she would take on and off. These are pictures where Brittany definitely had wounds from the fight that her and Mo had. Okay, so the law says that if there's any sign of violence, both people go to jail. Now, Brittany filled out this paperwork. She filled out this paperwork. And I have that on video. I have it on video. Where Brittany filled out a restraining order and to press charges. Broderick never filed this paper. It's not filed anywhere. This is legal documentation that he never filed. Now, with their own videos, with their very own videos that I paid $600 for, their very own videos that I paid $600 for.
The police cam videos. She has them.
It says Broderick went to see Mo, and he said to Mo, "You're not in trouble. I know how things are between y'all. Who made him judge and jury? Why
Son.
didn't he file his legal documentation? Why, don't try to file it now, Broderick, because I'll get you for that one too. I have a voice audio that was sent to me where I believe it's Brittany begging for her life, that says, put the knife away, and she's crying and she's begging. They've had that video or audio, beg your pardon, since November last year, because November's coming around again. When I went to them, and Sanchez and Johnson came into the office, and they told me they've had that since November. But they were told that it was Jordan. They said, we were told it was Jordan. Okay, fine, it's Jordan. I don't believe that. I believe it's Brittany. But they have not had that voice analysis done on that. And they should.
Someone
They
sent that
should.
to you?
Yeah,
There's
it was
so
sent,
much to it.
It was first sent on Facebook. It was snagged off of Facebook and sent to me by a very dear friend. And I went to the police with it. And they told me they had it since November. Several copies. If it is Jordan as they say it is, okay, let me lay it out for you. You closed Brittany's case in 39 days, but you have, with your possession, the last video of Brittany alive speaking with Broderick. You can go on Jordan's Facebook and you can get her voice. And you can get this analyzed and find out if it is Brittany or Jordan. Because if it's Brittany, you better reopen her case, because she said, put the knife away. And there's other voices in the background. There's other voices. I don't know who they are, but there's other voices. So there's more than one person there. Not only do I have it here, but I have it in safe places. But I mean, Johnny Law's got it anyway. Johnny Law's got it anyway. Why aren't you, if you think it's Jordan, why aren't you proving that it's Jordan? So Sanchez and Johnson told me, well, there's nothing they could do with it because it was probably done on a burner phone. Well, you can certainly get it analyzed. You can certainly get it analyzed. And you have to use Brittany's too, because I believe it's Brittany. If it is Brittany, you have to reopen that case. If it's Jordan, okay, then it's Jordan. But either way, I need to know, and Christy needs to know. Who is it? Is it one of our daughters?
Yeah.
We need to know. And Bandera County's not doing anything about it. Nothing. And then the judge, over her death certificate, he told me so when I went in about the death certificate, and he had all these things on there, I was like, no, this is not correct, and how do I get it amended? He said, well, you have to go to Austin and this and that. He was trying to make me pay more money. I already paid $600 for this, and all of this, and this. I paid $600 for. I would have had to pay more for an amendment. Well, guess what? I had an ace in the hole. I sent her for cremation. They called me from the crematorium. Miss McMahon, we need you to verify things on the death certificate. Oh, really? He emailed it to my Pastor Don, my pastor. And I went over there, and I looked through it, and Judge Towers had Brittany as found July the 4th, and by his very own timeline, it was July the 3rd. He had her found in the road, and she was found in a wooded area. He had Lakehills spelt as 2 words, and it's spelt as 1. And when I inquired as to how long he lived in Bandera County, I was like, so he said 40 years. how about you, Miss McMahon? And I said, well, I've lived here long enough to know that Lakehills is spelled as one word and not two. Mm-hmm. Well, you have a good eye, Miss McMahon. Mm-hmm. I had to get angry with this man. I went to him 4 times, and on the 4th time, he threatened to have me arrested for contempt of court because I was angry. Who wouldn't be angry when you have to go to someone 4 times to get a death certificate correct? And actually, I was going through emails. I actually only went to his office once, but when I had to go, I was angry because so he had Lakehills spelt wrong, and he had her found on brake check spelt like brakes. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, he's sorry. His teacher could never teach him how to. Well, she wasn't even found on brake check. She was found on Deer Run. Mm-hmm. Well, what do you want it to say? Well, what do you want it to say, Miss McMahon? I want it to say the truth. Bandera County needs to prove to me that my daughter committed suicide because I, with everything I have and everything I have read and the pictures I took myself because of their incompetence of taking pictures, I don't believe a damn word of it. And they need to get that audio and get it analyzed and find out who it is. They arrested my husband December the 6th for obstruction retaliation. What does that mean? What does that mean? They don't know. They can't handle being humiliated, because that's what he did. He humiliated them in their own backyard. And that's what they can't stand.
Yeah.
And he has a bond of $800,000, almost $1 million.
His bond is set at $800,000.
When there's a guy in there that murdered his parents, and his bond is $500,000 for each parent, and my husband gets $800,000, $1 million.
She and her husband have gone back to the crime scene multiple times, and she's going to let you know what she's found on her own after the scene was investigated thoroughly by, so they say, by the investigators and law enforcement.
The very next day, this is hair in here that belonged to Brittany. The very next day.
They didn't collect all of the evidence.
So, my husband found one ring that he wore around his neck. He found a tooth. A few weeks later, we went back and we found, and this stuff has not been touched. It's all just in the bag. We found another ring. There's a tooth, hair. It could, I think it's a hair band. These bones, I don't know, but there's hair. There's all kinds of things in here that could be tested. I'm wearing one ring that I found just a few months ago, a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, that has another ring, It looks like a wedding set, where you can't really see it. But I found that ring and this ring. But I have so much stuff that people even sent me about the heist that was done on Apache. But I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
I really don't. This is the ring that we found the very next day that Randy was wearing around his neck. Lying right next to the tree. Lying right next to the tree. Lying right next to the tree. That's the tree right there. There's the ring.
Wow, how could that have been missed?
No.
They didn't try?
That's the picture I took before it was even touched. And they wanted that ring, and Randy was like, snooze, you lose. You should have gathered up all the evidence that night. You took all your tape down. It's all free reign. That's a lamp that Brittany did for me.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Bandera County just needs to prove me wrong. I don't have to prove them wrong. I'm already doing that. They need to reopen her case. They need to do that voice analysis.
Yeah.
Christy and I need answers. And so King needs to do a redaction on his statement because he says in that he saw in the video that Brittany was carrying that suitcase. Well, you know what? I have the same video. And Mr. King, you did not see Brittany move any suitcase. No, you didn't. You need to write a redaction on that. That's a bold-faced lie.
He told the media that she was able to use her wrist and carry that
She
suitcase.
was able to carry that suitcase, that he saw her.
The mom has the video.
They have the
mom has
video
it,
themselves.
and they have it
He better
too.
watch it again.
There's too many inconsistencies, so we're going to keep investigating. Her mom she's done a lot, and so we encourage you, if you have any suggestions as to what she can do to resolve this. We need answers. The community needs answers. The parents need answers. They need closure. And we need to know what's going on in Bandera County, Texas. Many people have been missing and not found, and some have been found under mysterious circumstances. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back with more information. Thank you, Susan. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Love to everyone.
Love and blessings.